Where did the Dallas Stars stand a third of a way through the season? Is Logan Stankoven still in the mix for a Calder trophy? And some updates down on the farm.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. For the first time in a long time, the Dallas Stars have a 3-day break, which means it's a perfect time to stop and reflect on where the Dallas Stars are 27 games into their 2024-25 season. ESPN also dropped a NHL Award Tracking article. Where is Logan Stankoven in the conversation for the Calder Trophy? Plus, Antonia Stranges on the Texas Stars received the AHL Player of the Week. We'll get into that on today's episode of Locked On Stars, which is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Dallas Stars are coming off a 6-2 victory over the Calgary Flames after a 4-goal third period, and it's hard to believe that the Stars have not lost 3 games in regulation in a row under head coach Pete DeBoer. They always find a way to respond after a couple of tough losses on the road. They come back home, and this is the beginning, I believe, of 8 straight or 6 straight at the American Airlines Center. They find themselves at third in the Central Division. They trail Winnipeg by 6 points, and they trail Minnesota by 6 points as well. They have a couple of games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets, who have struggled here recently. They're 4-6 in their last 10. But to keep this on the conversation of the Stars, I have a lot of thoughts on Dallas. Many of you know how I see the Stars currently, but we will reiterate it here on today's episode. Look, I think Dallas has been pretty inconsistent this season. They're almost unbeatable at home. They are 11-2 at home this season. On the road, they are subpar. They're 6-8-0 away from the American Airlines Center this season. And if you look at Winnipeg and Minnesota, they are well above 500 on the road this season. So the Stars have sort of flip-flopped their home and away records from last season. Their scoring, of course, has disappeared and reappeared a few times, and I think really is just another indication of their inconsistencies with some of their lines, specific players like Jason Robertson. Really, the Stars haven't got a real consistent product from players outside of maybe Duchene, Marchment, and Stankoven. I know Stanky hasn't lit up the world in terms of point production, but in terms of his style of play and what he's creating on the ice for himself and others. The good news is Rope Hintz and Wyatt Johnston are starting to come on. Robertson probably played his best game of the season against Calgary on Sunday night. And one of the plays that I really loved from Robertson, despite his goal, which was a working man's goal coming out of the box and just drove right to the net. But I think one of the plays that really stood out to me from Robo on Sunday night was in the middle of the second period. It was about halfway through the hockey game. He didn't score on this play, but he went to the net and he tried to jam home a rebound in front of Dustin Wolf, the Calgary netminder. And that's exactly where Robertson needs to be. Continue to get to the puddle, get to the net. That's where he scored the majority of his goals. And I've had my fair share of criticisms of Jason Robertson this season. Maybe he deserves some more grace for coming off foot surgery just a few months ago, but the Stars need Robertson to score and score consistently. That top line is starting to figure it out. They're starting to get into a rhythm, and that's what keeps me really bullish on the Stars' chances this season, because nothing has really been perfect. Nothing has really matched up. If you go back to the very start of the season, and this isn't just the Dallas Stars, right? A lot of teams are going through this. Look at Colorado and the amount of injuries they had, suspensions with Val Nichushkin. They're starting to come back, and they just traded for a goaltender, Mackenzie Blackwood. They're hoping is going to be the answer to their goaltending problems. So that's sort of a desperate move in my eye. But the Stars have gotten pretty decent goaltending. You look at Jake Ottinger this season, his goal save above expected, ranked 16th right now at 4.8. I know a month and a half ago he was in the top 5, but I think Dallas has got pretty decent goaltending for the majority of the season. You know, Ottinger has a .912 save percentage, 2.43 goals against average. He's top 10 in save percentage this season. If you look back to some of my predictions coming into the year, Mason Marchment, 30 goals. That one's looking pretty tasty. He's at 12 so far in the first 26 games. I mentioned Ottinger would lead the league in save percentage. That's going to be really tough because Connor Hellebuyck and Philip Gustafsson, I don't think it's a coincidence that really the two teams with the hottest goaltenders this season are first and second in the entire NHL with Winnipeg and in Minnesota. You know, Dallas at 5-on-5 has improved mightily from the first month of the season. Their expected goals percentage is at 52%. That's 10th in the NHL. You look at their Corsi percentage, they were down around 20th in the first few weeks of the season. Of course, you need more of a sample size. They're 7th now in the NHL. They're improving there. I think with Duchene and Marchment's consistency, along with Robo and company starting to come along, you're going to see Dallas start to find a more flow offensively. And of course, it stinks with the injury and surgery to Tyler Seguin. They're not going to have him for really the rest of the regular season. You know, I think a large concern for many Stars fans is how is the back end going to continue to develop, or how can it improve? And it's almost weird even sort of bringing that conversation up, just because Dallas has been really good in terms of goal suppression this season. They're second, 2.56 goals per game. And I almost can't believe that Dallas is top 5 in that category based off sort of what we have seen on the defensive side of things. They really haven't had a ton of consistency. They're still, frankly, trying to figure out the pairings that work best. And, you know, Matt Dumba was a healthy scratch. We saw Smith play for a week. Niels Lundqvist has been great, but there's been sort of a hodgepodge. Petrovic had to get called up so they could add him into the lineup because Dumba was a healthy scratch. And at the end of the day, the Stars are still pretty solid as a team defensively, but I think a lot of us would say Jake Ottinger has had a large part in that. And Casey DeSmith as well has had a few stinkers here and there, but largely he's been exactly what you would want out of a backup goaltender. Things that worry me that I don't necessarily know will change. The Stars only have a couple of wins when trailing this season, like just a few. That's sort of been their calling card over the recent seasons, where I always felt like Dallas was never out of it. No matter the score, no matter the adversity they faced within a game, it just never felt like they were out of it, and they don't play very well from behind. Not a lot of teams do. Look, every team's going to be better when trailing or when leading. Excuse me. All teams are going to play better when they're on their front foot. But you know, we've seen Dallas squeak away leads. I mean, just recently, you had LA. We saw against Anaheim. We've seen against Carolina, where they got hammered in the third period. They've let a few go here this season. I guess a positive way to look at it is, you know, Dallas has been up. They have gotten out to some multi-goal leads this season. They haven't won a game coming back from more than one goal down this season. And that is something that does concern me, but they haven't shown the ability to just snap on teams and get on a roll and can strike quickly. Consistent, right? Like there's spurts of it. And I mean, you look at the first game of the season against Nashville, and I mean, they just put four up so quickly on Nashville. And of course, Wedgwood was in net that night. Nashville, I mean, gosh, they really haven't recovered since since game number one of this season. So I would like to see them improve in that area, just kind of playing from behind, trailing, have a little more fight in them. But that also begs the question is, is the top line going to be the line that sort of drives them? Can they continue to fight and just push past and work through some of the adversity they've faced this season? It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good that they're going through some ups and downs. You would like them to be in a more, I guess, formidable spot in the Central, but they're third, 27 games in, and it's not like as far from over. They are still hunt, which is a great sign. I think if you look at teams like Winnipeg and Minnesota, like Winnipeg, almost everything has gone right for them, and Dallas is only 6 points behind. Minnesota for the first part, but they have had to deal with some injuries here lately. Of course, we'll see how the next few weeks go for them. But Joel Eriksson was out. I think Zuccarello's back soon. Like they have had their own issues that they're starting to deal with. But for a large part of the season, a lot is going right for the Minnesota Wild. And I think if we look at the Stars right now, not a ton has gone right. We're still waiting for a lot of what we saw from last season. But you look back too, and Dallas is in a pretty similar situation, a third of a way through this year as they were in 2023-24, despite, certain outputs like Duchene, who has 29 points in 27 games. I don't know how many Stars fans would have bet that Duchene would be leading the Stars in scoring almost 30 games into this thing, and more than likely he's probably going to be leading them halfway through the campaign. It's pretty incredible stuff. I'll say this. I'm okay with where the Stars are at. I won't say I like clubs at. I have a belief that Jim Nill is going to make a few acquisitions. I think I don't believe the Stars are a true contender right now is sort of what I'll say. And maybe that's foolish of me to throw out there, but I think there's still a piece, maybe two away. I think they need to add sort of a Chris Tanev-like move, right? A defenseman that can come in just kind of bolster the back end. And with the space Tyler Seguin possibly creates, like Dallas can go out and get another winger, right? Like a top 6 winger if they want. What are they willing to give up? That's sort of where the conversation comes down to, because you have Bixel and you have Bork. And I know some have mentioned Maverick Bork into trade conversations. Do the Stars really want to have to give up one of the talented prospects? They usually don't want to. That was one of the miracles of getting Chris Tanev. They didn't have to give up really a huge name prospect. I know they had to get rid of a defenseman, but it wasn't like the Stankovens or the Borks of the world to get Tanev. So I'm feeling optimistic, is what I'll say, about the Dallas Stars' chances. I think at this point it's Dallas is comfortably in a playoff spot. Just get in the dance and we'll go from there. And I think Dallas is going to look a bit different by the time they get to game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And there's a lot of time to go. Things could change, of course. All right. Speaking of a little season update, what are the NHL Award Tracking updates? Where does Logan Stankoven stand in the Calder Trophy conversations? We'll get into that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks. Best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money, whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. While you need to get started today, you can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. No need to win. The $50 is guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where select player projections are discounted up to 25%. This week on PrizePicks, you can eye the hockey board, looking at Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, or Timmy Perrin for more than 1 assist. It's simple to make your picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today. Use the code NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win. It takes 30 seconds to download on your smartphone. It's Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks. Run your game. Logan Stankoven has had a fantastic rookie campaign so far this season. In 25 games, he has 4 goals and 12 assists with 16 points this season, which is among the rookie leaders. But lately, Michkov and Celebrini have done wonders for themselves. So Grushnewski put out an article on ESPN. It's an NHL Award Tracking. And he has, of course, the Norris Trophy conversation, the Hart Trophy. But I want to begin with the Calder Trophy because we've been eyeing this one all season long. Can Logan Stankoven become the first ever Dallas Star to win the Calder? And it says here that Dallas Stars forward led all rookies in scoring during last month's NHL Awards Watch voting, and thus all led players with first place ballots as well. He's been in a huge funk since November 15th with just 2 assists in 10 games. His rookie scoring lead has dropped, and goodbye to his spot as a Calder finalist in the awards watch, as Stankoven didn't receive a first place vote, even though he was mentioned down the ballot. It says neither Michkov nor Macklin Celebrini drive play the way Stankoven does, a voter said. So Michkov now is leading the way, and Celebrini is right up there with Michkov as well. Montreal Canadiens rookie defenseman Lane Hudson was the other finalist last month. He received down ballot mentions from our voters, 0 goals and 18 assists in 27 games this season. Wolf from Calgary, he's also received some votes as well. It says if we're being honest about who the best rookie is, it's not the flashiest, it's Wolf by a mile, a voter declared. He's been outstanding, and this shouldn't be particularly close. But Logan Stankoven is still in the mix. Of course, it is difficult for Stankoven because he does play on the best team out of any of those other players. Philadelphia with Michkov, Celebrini, of course. So Stankoven doesn't get the amount of power play time, not a ton of ice time and dangerous situations, or I should say power play especially. He doesn't get to rack in a ton of minutes, even though he does get plenty here in Dallas, but he's not having to carry the offensive load or look to drive a lot of the offense like Michkov and Celebrini really are, because right now the finalists are Michkov, Celebrini, and Dustin Wolf. I think Stankoven will work his way into that conversation. I think he's been a bit unlucky, snake bitten bit recently. He'll start to get on a roll, and if he can finish within the top 3 of scoring, I find it hard to believe he could be kept out of the rookie of the year conversation. So after this last month, he's not currently a finalist when asked by some voters, but he is still in that conversation which is a good sign. You look at the Vezina. Jake Ottinger's not in there as a finalist. It's Lucas Dostal and Philip Gustafsson, and the leader right now is Hellenbuck, which is really not a surprise. Ottinger's not even mentioned in this article, nor do I think he should be at this point in time. The Norris Trophy conversation, there ain't a lick about Miro Heiskanen on here. It's Makar, Hughes, and Rowinski, which I really don't disagree with a lot. Makar's Makar, Hughes is Hughes, and Rowinski's having a fantastic season in Columbus. Miro Heiskanen is not mentioned in here, nor do I think he should be really, I guess, a top 3. I think should be within the top 5, but he doesn't score a lot, so he's not going to be. That's just I mean, I hate to say it, and I'm always going to be on the boat of Miro needs to win a Norris, but you have to be almost a point per game defenseman at this point in time. That's just the way the NHL is, and it kind of stinks, and he'll never get that type of respect until playoffs come over, and then like, oh wow, this guy's awesome. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding at all. There's just some of my disdain for the Norris conversation. Dallas doesn't have anybody else really, not at all in the Selke. It's Cicerelli, Barkov, Reinhart. No surprise there. We know we talked about Rope Hintz, but his game hasn't been as consistent as he would like, and that's really it. Stankoven is currently the only star in the conversation for a award this season. And I think too, that sort of sums up and kind of gives us an idea of what the Dallas Stars have been over the last few seasons. And I know this has been brought up before, but Dallas doesn't have like a single guy that just really sticks out. The last few years, Dallas hasn't won a team award or a player award. I don't think DeBoer did. If I'm not mistaken, Jim Neal has. Jim Neal has won plenty here over the last few years as the GM of the year, but no individual awards, not even really close, not even sniffing finalists. So that's just sort of what Dallas is. They're just a great collective of players, and that usually means a great team. And they have been a great team. They've been a fantastic team over the last few years. But nobody really stands out and is that guy here in Dallas. And you can argue if that's a bad thing, they don't have somebody, or you can argue it's a good thing. We'll see. Really, who cares? Who's going to lift the trophy at the end of the year? That's where Dallas is aiming, and that's the task at hand. So we'll see how it all wraps up, of course, but plenty of time before we get there. So there's a little Calder Trophy update for you on today's episode. Now let's talk about Antonia Stranges of the Texas Stars. He had a fantastic week and received a AHL Player of the Week award. We'll talk about him in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can place $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Antonia Stranges from the Texas Stars received the AHL Player of the Week yesterday. In 4 games, he had 3 goals, 5 assists, and 8 points to close out their Western road trip. Since Stranges snapped a tie with 14:05 left in regulation with his first game-winning goal of the season, sending Texas to a 5-3 win at Ontario. On Thursday, he notched a career-high 4 points. He had 2 goals and 2 assists, factoring in on all of the Stars' offense in a 6-4 loss at Coachella Valley. Stranges chipped in an assist on Saturday in Henderson and had 2 more helpers on Sunday as Texas defeated the Silver Knights 4-2. A third-year pro, Stranges has recorded 9 goals and 14 assists for 23 points in 19 games this season. The Ann Arbor, Michigan native has totaled 24 goals and 35 assists in 102 career AHL games with Texas after being selected by the Stars in the 4th round in 2020. I'll say this, I don't watch a ton of Texas Stars hockey. I never claim so, but I do keep an eye on them, of course, here, just to try to stay updated. I sort of leave that to 100 Degree Hockey and Stefan Meserve and Chris Chambers. I really encourage you to go read their content since they're watching them on an everyday basis. With my schedule, sometimes even hard to watch Stars games all the time. I have to watch them, a day after or so. But Stranges he's fun to watch. He has that 10-2 skating style. I'm sure many of you Stars fans have seen some videos and highlights of him where he sort of has the weird skating style where it's like 10-2 and he really uses his edges. He's an extremely good skater. He's putting together quite the season here in Texas. And as a 4th round pick, don't be surprised maybe in a few years or so that Stranges finds his way into a Dallas Stars lineup. He's a lot of fun to watch. From what it seems, has really good hockey sense and just kind of an eye for positioning. Obviously he can light up the score sheet too, as he did this past week. So great to see that the Texas Stars are doing some great work. They're right now, I believe they're 3rd in the Central Division. They are behind Milwaukee and Grand Rapids. So they're trying to push up in the standings there in the Central, but a big week for Antonia Stranges, which is a great sign, and a good week for the Texas Stars in general, who are 5-5 in their last 10. So we'll continue to keep an eye out down on the farm. I would love to get some more guests on the show. Maybe you can ask Steven or Chris Chambers to come on here, and I would love to chat with them and give us a more minute detail report on what we're seeing from Texas, because they do great stuff down there. Also in the works, Sam Nessler will be on the show here in about a week or so. We're starting to do some more collabs with DLLS. They're fantastic. I went on there a few days ago, and it was a lot of fun. So Sam's gonna come back on probably in the next week or so, and we're gonna start having him on more regular. And we're just going to chop it up about Stars hockey as we usually do. But that'll do it for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars. I do apologize for not putting out an episode on Monday. I had a 3-game week and I was done. I was out. I'll be honest. I was out to lunch for Monday. I needed another day to recover, but we'll be back. And it kind of works out with the Stars having a mini 3-game break, and they'll be back in action on Thursday against the Nashville Predators. So looking forward to that. Alrighty, please be sure to subscribe. By the way, we're almost at 3,500 subscribers. I want to get there by the end of the year. We are so close. 155 more. We can get there. So I would love for you to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a like, drop a comment below. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.